Hello. Hey, it's Gabe,
Yo.
senior admin and co-owner of GWES. And I'm sad to say that status quo, unfortunately, will be put on a permanent administrative suspension, mainly because the person who runs status quo needs to get their head out of their ass and actually come in for an episode and not just come in for the first two and then just dip out like nothing ever happened.
And that was
on that note, welcome to the ERN podcast.
Welcome to the ERN podcast,
Hello.
guys. We're going to skip EAS history this week because we got some exciting things exciting and just new things we want to talk about. So this week we'll be talking about ERN, taking a look at the GR more deeply. Dawn's got more info on that. And then later in the episode, we got Gabe, toward the end of the episode, we'll have Gabe talking about Seattle tsunami preparedness info based on, you said studies, right?
Yeah, it was a simulation that was recently ran that's kind of making its waves through a lot of the news media. Kind of want to explain that from the EAS perspective.
Yeah, for perspective, Gabe has not told us any of this yet, so this is going to be just as surprising.
Yeah, it's going to be fresh reactions for all y'all.
Fresh reactions from all of us.
I'm sorry to interrupt. None of you can see this, but currently Anna has an oven mitt.
Pizza's almost
done. So on today's
done.
episode, you have Cam, you have myself, you got Anna, and then you have the one, the only, the double natting son of a bitch himself, Dawn.
Pizza's done. I'll be right back.
Yeah, and then after Dawn, we're gonna have Anna talking about
guest star of Anna's Pizza.
Some TFT stuff that we recently found out, and paying homage to the death of TFT man himself.
He's dead.
Almost a year. Almost been a year, so
he's been dead for nearly a year, but we had no idea, so we're going to pay respects to him anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, so first off, we got our GR bonanza going on here at ERN. Dawn's been taking the head on that. So Dawn, you want to kind of explain what you've found and what led up to it?
So, essentially, the other day, I was screwing around with my GR like one does, because I don't really screw around with it much. I set it up and it does its own thing. But essentially, I was messing around with serial ports, and I was like, oh yeah, the Sage has an option to send headers over serial. And supposedly that's a requirement by Part 11. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll hook the two index together. Spoiler alert, the Gorman can't do that. So we approached iPause about this. We were like, hey, does your unit do this? Because I can't get my unit to do it, and I would like to do it. And they contacted Gorman, and the help wasn't very useful.
Just like everything with Gorman Redlick support.
Yes, and Anna can touch on that. So essentially, we have reason to believe that Gorman Redlick EAS-1 is compliant on a technicality.
Maybe borderlining, not
borderline.
Yeah, depending on your interpretation of Part 11, it could potentially be construed as not compliant. But it really depends on whoever
Part 11. I was reading Part 11 just for fun. I would say about a week ago, since I'm currently not working. Actually, speaking of which, got a new job starting on the 25th. Not that really matters to any of the listeners here.
Hey.
Yeah, I know, right? So from what I was reading, I kind of see the technicality part, but I see more toward non-compliant.
Because
I don't know if you guys have read Part 11 after this whole thing.
I
was reading Part 11 during the thing.
We read fair. Part 11 during the thing, and then in the email, because I actually wrote the email to the iPod Lab. Dawn just
Dawn hit the send button.
Yeah, Dawn hit the send button from his stuff because he actually has a GR. But I referenced the exact section of Part 11 that we were referring to,
which is Part 11, Section 33A1. Yes.
Which part was that again for the listeners?
Part 11, Section 33A1, which references that you have to have at least 2 monitoring inputs and 1 data input. And every other NDEC can do that. The Sage can do it. The TFTs can do it. The Easies can do it. I'm pretty sure the DAS can do it. The Burke can for sure do it. So the Cadco Twister can do it.
The Cadco Twister can do it.
MTS System 3000 or whatever it's called, that can do it. It's only
so basically every
MTS
end deck
System
except for the Gorman Redlick.
Yes. Now, the only thing is, it was mentioned in the email from Jim Gorman himself that this functionality was there in the early days of Cap when they first introduced the Cap deck. And I have reason to believe that my unit might be able to do it, but it's just not openly available, like documented on how to do it. Since my unit has version 9.7, which was released right around when the Cap deck would have come out, which is around 2012. So we'll have to.
But you got to think, even then, Index before that had that functionality.
Yeah, which is very true. And
we'll get more on that later.
The Gorman has been in production since the 90s, like mid-90s, like 96 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the whole thing about how they're possibly compliant on a technicality, maybe they were more lenient in the 90s with the compliance tests. So maybe if they were to retest it nowadays...
So what was happening is that during that time, they were probably just rush approving a lot of these index because they needed to get more and more index on the market because, because it probably at the point that it was approved, it was probably less than a year away from EAS full implementation and the EBS being phased out entirely.
Yeah.
So,
which is very possible and quite possibly true. So it would be cool.
It explains on how the Burke got approved.
Well, actually, the Burke is closer to the TFT than it is to Gorman, and if the Burke didn't have its software issues, it would be a good encoder. The issue is it had software issues, and they dropped support for it so quickly.
Like, the thing with the Burke is, it's a great unit. You just have to have the right unit. Because I know a lot of people that have good units, and they work fine. They're very good. Especially if you get one of the units that can do national auto-forwarding. That's pretty good for an end deck from that era. I mean, I know the Sage can do it, which is over there, but still, that's the only end deck from that era that can do national auto-forward out of the box on every unit.
Yeah, so it's one of those, every other unit has it except for the Gorman.
Yeah.
But I think it was Gabe that said it was probably approved back then because of the rush to get EAS equipment out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up
especially those earlier units. They should probably retest them.
Oh, much.
They are considered non-compliant, or most of the units except for the GR are considered non-compliant because they do not support Blue Alert.
Yes.
Oh, that is fair.
But the thing with these units, well, are you talking about modern units or units from the 90s?
From the 90s.
The Sage will forward unknown alerts by default.
I think the 1822 is still technically compliant.
It is compliant because
it's compliant with a CAPT EAS unit.
Or if
because you can add the Blue Alert in.
Because you can add Blue Alert in, but Sage doesn't sell the 1822 anymore. Gorman Redlick still sells the EAS 1.
Yes, and I think it'd be if a company sells that unit for that long, you'd think the FCC would step in and recheck the unit over.
Reevaluate it.
Yeah, reevaluate it to make sure that it's still up to the new modern standards. Because I guarantee you, Part 11 has been changed a bunch since the units.
Yes.
Of course.
On a lot of the websites that you can read Part 11, you can actually see how many times it's been upgraded. It's been updated since it had been released. And there's a pretty big list on there.
Yeah. And even if the Gorman is still sold brand new, the newest ROM doesn't support adding new FIPS codes, or event codes rather, or FIPS codes. Well, FIPS codes are a different story, but you cannot add new event codes into the unit. So it's technically still non-compliant with regards to Blue Alert and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like it's just one of those gray area,
Very much so.
especially since it's been around for so long.
Yeah. And back to the support being the way it is, where they didn't really offer much assistance. I'm going to hand that over to Anna.
So earlier on in the day of that day that we were working on the Gorman, we tried to get it working and we couldn't get it working on any port. No ZCZC output on any port. Like, for example, I forget which exact port it is on the TFT, but one of those ports outputs raw header codes in real time. So basically, both the Sage and the TFT do this. It sends a header, then it sends the pulse of data on the serial port. Sends a header, sends the pulse. Sends a header, sends the pulse. It does it for both headers and EOMs. And using this, you can actually have a Sage communicate to the TFT and vice versa using just raw serial. So we were looking for a feature that did exactly the same thing on the Gorman. So we looked and we couldn't find any port that did that. And after that, I decided to leave on Gorman's tech support a message saying, hey, where can we find the functionality to do this? Gorman proceeded to call me, even though I specified please respond via email. Decided to call me, criticize me for having a lower voice, and then after I explained to him what we were looking for, he proceeded to give me a lecture on how the protocol worked in the first place, and then asked me what station I was working with. I told him it's an LPFM because technically we can consider Don an LPFM, even though he doesn't transmit. And then he asked me for the call sign, and whenever I said I don't know because I don't know what call sign Don's using for that box, he hung up on me. He asked for the call sign. I said I don't know, and I just heard click.
You could probably that's probably somewhere where if you told the FCC, they would probably step in pretty fast.
Yeah,
Most
I don't know
likely.
at this point,
or if not, even the FTC, because you're not getting support on a unit that you have
support them to the best.
For.
Support them for the Better Business call Better Business.
Better Business
Better
Bureau.
Business Bureau.
Well, technically speaking,
Triple B.
like if you think about it.
Yeah, you really could.
So,
Because like
for those of you guys who are curious, that we were talking about that specific section of Part 11. For those of you curious, I have it pulled up here, and I can read to you exactly what it is, what it says. Decoders must have the capability to receive at least 2 audio inputs from EAS monitoring assignments and at least 1 data input. The data input may be used to monitor other communication modes, such as Radio Broadcast Data System, or RBDS, NWR, satellite, public switch telephone network, or any other source that uses the EAS protocol. Now, note that it says the EAS protocol, not like any custom bullshit capped EAS thing that they developed for it.
Mm-hmm.
Proper EAS protocol.
And the thing,
in my opinion, that is a blatant violation of that section.
It really is. But the reason we say they're compliant on a technicality is because
it had it when it was approved, but it's not.
Well,
anymore.
no. In the email that I received from Jim Gorman, he says, with respect to Part 11, Section 33A1, that requires us to decode one of 4 listed formats or any other source that uses the EAS protocol. The EAS1 can decode both weather radio and satellite formats, and an optional telephone interface. That's not
Weather
what
radio,
the section...
So weather radio
can be considered an audio input.
It is an audio input.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
Because
that's the
it
main
is-
form of input for weather radio, if not the only.
Correct.
Yeah. And satellite is just like Mnet, and that's also audio.
Yeah, that is
primarily audio based unless you have an encoder like the EasyCap or the DAS deck that can interact directly with Mnet
Yeah.
as a cap source. But even then, those two units still have direct EAS output. Even the Sage Digital does as well, because I've done some cool stuff with that. Like, for example, a little project that I had on my station is that I wanted to run tests using the broadcaster, using like the broadcaster TTS and stuff. But I didn't. What I wanted to run everything through the Sage, so I did it over serial.
Mhm.
I did everything over serial, and then through the encoder line in, I was able to just run that. And what do you know? The protocol, the only thing I was sending to the unit were 3 headers. When I was done, 3 EOMs.
Yep.
And send the alert just like it was receiving it from an audio source, which is how it should be.
Very much.
Yep. And you can't do that on the Gorman.
Nope.
Yep.
And this functionality could easily be added in a future ROM revision, as every single Gorman unit has, I believe it's 5 serial ports on the back. There's a PC port, there is the character generator port, the modem port, what's the other one? Hold on, let me look up a photo of the EAS. It is the...
That's a +1 on both the Sage, and the 1822, and the digital. You can configure what each serial port does.
Yes, that's it. It has, PC port, signboard, modem, character generator, and spare. And that spare port is hooked into the motherboard. So I guarantee you, it is very easy to integrate this functionality. But they just won't. And there's even a spot in the menu that is reserved for future use on my ROM revision. So, who's to say they can't program that functionality in like that?
Exactly.
Because I can see a lot of valid reasons why people would want to do that.
If you have multiple units and you want them to both send the same thing.
Yeah. If you have multiple units, you can have them stay in sync.
Yep, because the Gorman only has support for 2 built-in multi-station, you could say. 2 different feeds with separate relays and stuff.
How many line in do you have on the Gorman?
6 inputs.
6 inputs.
2 yes. So 6 monitor inputs, 2 program audio inputs, which are stereo, and 2 program outputs. So you have 2 separate feeds that can go in and come out and be switched to EAS by the same box. So if you have a cluster of these and you have maybe 6 stations, you need 3 units, which would be very useful to have that serial functionality.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, that sounds like
What?
a whole lot of get something other than a GR.
Very much so, which is why you can get a GR and a cap deck refurbished for about $1,000.
If you guys want ERN's professional opinion on the Gorman Red, do not buy it.
Please
stay away.
It is.
If your station already has one, get a different end deck.
However, we'll still accept you if you have a GR, just reluctantly.
Yeah. I love my Gorman, but just don't buy one.
Actually, here's what you want. If you want to impress us in ERN, if you can somehow get a hold of a CADCO twister, get a hold of a CADCO twister, we will gladly let you in and see if we can get a closer look at that unit, because holy crap, if you have one of those.
Or if you know someone who does have a CADCO twister and we're interested to take a look at it.
If any of you have a CADCO twister, send me an email, don@GWES-EAS.net. Thank you.
Or if you please do CC. Please do also CC Gabriel at GabrielSMcMillan.me.
Oh, if I get emails, you will have them forwarded to you.
Thank you, sir.
Or you could join the ERN Discord server. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of us.
We should get a
ERN Discord server. You can get a hold of any of us that are online. Just don't ping us incessantly.
Yeah, just type something in general, and we will get to you
Eventually.
eventually.
However, if we see Catco Twister in there and legitimate photos that aren't stock photos, you'll get our attention.
Yeah, we will.
Pretty
we will
damn
freak
fast.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other way to impress us is if you have a TFT EAS 911D.
Hey,
because we only know one person that has one, and they're in the
And
call.
she's in this call.
no.
Yep.
If you want me, Anna, specifically me, to join a call within seconds of you saying anything,
911
just to talk
plus.
to you, if you have a 911 plus, I will spend way too much money on you. I will buy that instantly.
Yeah.
In other news, welcome to Friday, July. Oh, by the way, or not Friday. So, we're recording this on Saturday, July 9th. Okay.
It is actually the 10th right now, so get your days right.
For me, it is July 9th on the West Coast, and then Dawn is living over in the future.
And I'm over here in the middle of nowhere, Montana.
There's lighting off fireworks outside.
Are you sure that's not a gun?
I heard. Shh.
That's fair. Well, you also heard a school fire alarm about 2 hours ago?
And
Oh
you
yeah,
also
like
heard
about
gunshots.
a couple hours ago, I was in the call. I could literally hear very clearly the Spectre alert advances all around the outside of the school that I live by.
I mean, if my parents weren't asleep, I would go pull the fire alarm, but they are, so I won't.
For reference, Dawn. For reference, Dawn has a fire panel.
I do. See,
For reference,
I
don't have a gun.
I would still do it even if they were asleep, but because my MT is set on March time, I will not be doing it.
Is it set on March time?
Yes, my Wheelock MT is set on March time. My Spectre Alert Classic is set on code 3.
Okay.
I have no idea what either of you are saying.
Codings.
Anyways, you guys want to get back to the whole GR thing and
Well, I don't
Don't
know.
get a GR, the end.
Yeah, don't buy
Okay.
a GR.
Fuck it. Hey Don, do you want to do a quick explanation of the different codes for fire alarms? Because fuck it.
Okay, so I really only know a lot about a couple of them. So first off, you have continuous, which is just continuous tone. Second, you have code 3, which is like that. Second, you have code 3, which is I don't have anything to that. And then you have March time.
I forget which one that was.
That specifically is 120 beats per minute March time. There's another variant, which is 60 beats per minute, which is half that. It's slow. Don't use it. That. It's actually more like it's like code 3, but without the pauses.
It's code 3, but without a pause.
Yes. And there's also code 4, which I don't know what it is. And then we can get into the whole world of coded pull stations, and that just gets complicated. So we're not going to go there.
And then you go into the world of who even gives a shit, because now all of your fire alarms are speakers and voice packs. Bong, bong, bong.
Attention.
There's a fire emergency in the building.
yeah,
Your
I remember,
attention, please.
Yeah,
Your
in my old high
attention, please.
Yeah, in my old high school, it was like it didn't even say "can I." It said, "May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? A fire has been reported in the building."
Wow, this is being verified. Please
leave the building by the nearest
See,
exit.
mine didn't even say that.
While this is being verified?
Yeah, mine didn't even say that. It would just be like a fire has been reported in the building, and then go over to the, I think it was March time signal.
Yeah, so I only ever see while this is being verified. I only ever see that whenever it's referring to like a
A
large
public
public
school.
building, a large public building,
Yeah, that's fair.
like an airport. Because actually, fun story. If you actually go onto my YouTube channel, and there's a video that I have called "Meanwhile at IAH." I was at the Houston airport flying back home from a trip while I was in a Discord call, and the fire alarm started going off.
Nice.
And of course, here's a fun policy that certain buildings have. If there's a fire alarm going on,
Don't
you know what
evacuate.
you do? Absolutely jack fucking shit. You don't do anything. Because guess what? You just wait until they tell you to leave. Because
Sometimes it's just too big of a building.
Yeah.
Or even better, if you're a case like IAH, there are multiple parts of the building that run on different panels that aren't linked together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, back on the topic of if you have this NDEC, contact us. If you have a Gorman Redlick EAS1 TV, let us know.
Let us know. We would love to see what the CGen looks like.
If you got an unusual, more obscure NDEC, we'd still love to hear from you.
Like an email.
If you have a Sage that has NDEC set or freaking EPROG, that does not count.
If you have a version that's lower than 5.27, though, let us know.
We do know of one that does exist.
We know of two.
But anyways, let's get back on the train here. So I guess we'll move on from the GR stuff. We'll of course update as we get more information, and on basically we're calling this, at least I'm calling it internally, ERN versus GR.
ERN versus GR. Next case being determined by our Supreme Court.
Yeah. So
which is FEMA.
But yeah, I guess we can move on to the next thing. So Anna, you found some things with the TFT serial.
I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not the one who originally found this. It was Emma, or MetaCity, who found this. And she's apparently known about it for a really long time. So on the back
I guess it was more obscure knowledge, though, to all of us, though.
Hold on. I am going to look at it real quick. Give me 1 second. Because on the back of the TFT, there are two serial ports.
It's still J103?
J103 and J104.
104 is the one that... Yeah.
Yeah. So the two serial ports, J103 and J104, do one of two things. So J103 outputs the header information as it's being sent. So essentially, let's say you're sending a required weekly test on a TFT. As the header goes out, you'll get a header, and then on that, you'll get a burst of data, which is the header data. The reason why this is important is because we've been able to use this to make loggers for the TFT. So as this would to send the data, we can receive that data and decode it and make it info that can be converted and sent to Discord and stuff like that. The issue is it doesn't give you a lot of data. It's just the header data. So you'd basically get a log saying, hey, the TFT did send something. And then on J104, it is a receive port. Or this is what we thought for the longest time. It was receive only. It would receive that data, and that's why there's a D light on all the front of the TFTs for reception. That D is for decoding. So what would happen is as the TFT decodes that data, you'll see that D port flash. And if it receives two headers on that, it would trigger an emergency alert, just like normal. So the other day I was sitting in a call with Emma, and I was just sitting there talking, and I was like, I wish I could get more data out of this unit, because it would be nice to have like logging on monitor 3. And she responds with, yeah, you can do that. And I was like, how? And she's like, one of the serial ports on the back. And I thought she had the serial port expansion card, because there's like another 3 serial ports like character generator, computer port, and there's another one. I forget what it is.
I want to say
It's
it's,
not-
for the sign
It's not
boards.
sign. Yeah. Well, sign
It's
though
not
can
a
be.
COM port.
Yeah, but
Well, it can be.
It's
no, it isn't. They
No.
don't give you a COM port though because they're weird. Point is, I thought she had this expansion board, but then she turned around and said, "No, I don't have this expansion board." So I was really confused until she's like, "I think it's one of the default 2 ones," and I was like, "Okay." I plugged into J103 thinking that's the one that outputs all the data anyway, and I started poking around the settings, couldn't figure out anything to do. And then she's like, no, it's J104, the one that inputs the data. So I quickly wrote up a script that would run 2 threads in Python, one that sends a data pulse to activate EAS, and one thread that's just constantly listening for incoming data. And what happened is after I had sent 2 pulses and it activated due to EAS, I received data with a whole bunch of things saying, this is the, it was like, it has a thing saying pre-select or non-pre-select, basically saying, will it send it or will it not? It has a thing saying what channel it is. It has the time that it decoded it. It has the EAS text translation. It has the header information. Like, it's all there.
It's kind of basically like what that reminds me of. It's kind of like what it sends the printer.
Yeah. Printer. That's the other port that's on the COM expansion.
Oh,
You've got computer, printer, character generator, and digital signage. The digital signage is like a speaker wire terminal thing. But so I saw this and I'm like, holy crap, we've had this entire time. We just didn't know. And the only person who knew about this thought we already knew. Because whenever Emma told me this, she's like, I thought you already knew this. I didn't. Because there's nothing in the manuals are honestly really vague on what those 2 ports do. Like, really
the vaguest of anything.
Yeah, it literally just says there are 2 ports to receive and send digital on both. It's basically they copied and pasted the same description for both the ports.
Yeah.
So the thing that the Gorman's missing.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically I saw this and I'm like, holy crap. This has literally been sitting under our noses for however long we've all had TFTs, and we just didn't know it.
Which makes me wonder, you remember that whole fiasco with trying to get my TFT to log? I wonder if that'll work.
Yeah, it probably will, honestly.
Yeah, it likely will.
We could poke around with it. I still have it.
I'm currently going to be building a new experimental version of the logger if I can get all my serial ports working. And basically all it's going to do is it's going to take in the serial data from both those ports in real time. And what it will do is I can receive the data from that first port, because that first port only that port that sends out all that data only goes off for receiving alerts. It doesn't go off for sending alerts.
Which would make sense.
Which is also why I never knew it, because whenever I had my TFT, I was testing loggers just by sending a weekly. And
same with me.
That port doesn't output anything for sending a weekly. So basically, once I figured this out, the reason why is it only goes off for receiving alerts. So I would have had to send an alert from my Sage into my TFT for it to receive it, for me to actually get that data. And I never did that. So basically, in doing this, we have a whole new way of logging for TFT. So now I can kind of do what the Sage logger does, where you have a log on receive and a log on send. And yeah, this will be really cool.
And are you the only one that's going to have a logger that does something like this?
No, I'm probably going to release it in the ERN log pack, because we've got a internal server for this.
What I'm saying, like any other loggers, like anyone else that creates loggers, are we going to be the first ones to be able to access this new info?
I'm going to try to develop a portion of my logger that uses this new info if JJ will let me access his TFT, since I don't have one. And
Well, hey, Don, we're
Yeah.
planning on moving all of the loggers to our custom code server, so you'll be able to see it there.
yeah, I know. But I just want to screw around with it myself. Because I developed
Okay.
my entire TFT logger on his not useful
Trust me,
information.
I know how that feels because I had to develop
Easy cap
my
logger.
first TFT logger was developed for EIS Guy 114 Nick's logger, Nick's TFT. He has a CGen port. I didn't. So I had to develop an entire logger based off of his TFT, which means that I had to sit in calls with him for hours going, okay, I think I've got it now. Send a weekly. Nope, we didn't get it. And that's before we figured out how to do like remote programming using VS Code and stuff.
Well, I mean, to be fair though, that's basically programming in a nutshell.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically like, I got it.
Should we say something about the new thing that I found out about the Sage though? The multi-station.
I don't see why not.
So, no, we haven't figured out much about the modem because, well, there's nothing we can do with it yet. But so what I found out is I was perusing around Broadcast Tools documentation the other day, and I was looking deep into their documentation, looking around, and I found one of the things that can substitute a multi-station relay panel from Sage. It uses the same protocol. And deep in the documentation, they had a very, very small snippet giving an example of the serial protocol that it uses. And sure enough, I was like, oh, I wonder. And I opened up my copy of my Sage ROM that I've ripped off of my unit to get it working. And sure enough, looking through the read, I found the exact calls that the Sage uses to communicate with multi-station relay panels. Which means using this, I can use something like an Arduino to interface with the Sage, receive these, and I've got a TFT EAS 940A here, which is basically the TFT's version of that multi-station relay panel. It's basically a whole bunch of relays controlled by a couple switches on the back. Using this info, I can communicate with an Arduino that can decode these messages and then plug them into this 940A and basically create my own multi-station relay panel, which will be really fun.
We love projects here at ERN.
It's really fun.
Oh, yes,
you know?
we do, especially in the lab.
I'm half tempted to release that on, because judging how this protocol was mainly, it's mainly viewable if you look through, like I said, if you go and look through the Broadcast Tools documentation, you can find the protocol in there. So I'm half tempted to just like maybe release that on GitHub. Be like, hey, if you have a 940A and a Sage for some odd reason and a spare Arduino lying around, you can create a TFT ES94A thing, yes.
It's a bootleg Sage multi-station relay panel.
Bootleg MSRP.
Yep.
It would be really cool if I can get that to work, though, because the 940A has the same relays that the TFT uses, so whenever it triggers, it's like a TFT clunk, but in a 1U box. So imagine the TFT clunk, but 4 of them going off in a row. It will be so fun.
You gotta hook up the 911D to the... Just get them all at once.
I need to find out the exact model of the relays and just buy them in bulk.
And put them all in in a row.
No, just buy them in bulk and just fill a breadboard with them. So it's just like... Yeah, just fill a breadboard with them, hook up on an Arduino and like a serial converter so I can send a serial command and it'll just convert it to like a a voltage step that I can use to control all the relays, and just get multiple of these, or an IO expander. So just get multiple of these and just set them up so I can have like 20 relays on my desk, and at any point I can just click a button.
Be awesome.
What if
The
I
next
made
project for ERN?
What if I make a custom box that's just that, but it's got all of those on like terminal blocks on the back, and I just name it the TFT EAS Clunk?
Yes.
That would be perfect. For the low price of not for sale.
For the low price of I can't manufacture anything in bulk.
The TFT EAS 91 clunk. Or 91 clunk.
The 911C. The 911 clunk.
911 clunk. Just take.
Maybe that's the bootleg of the 911 Plus. It's just a plus version of all the clunks.
I named this the TFT EAS 950C. C for clunk.
Yes. So what you gotta do
the 950 clunk.
Yes. You gotta take the 911D. You gotta put in a motherboard that has all 6 monitors and all that, and just fill the bottom case with relays. And hook them out to the main relay. Because then
no. What you need to do is you need to convert your 911D to a 911R and put the 940 on the bottom section.
Yes. Actually, though.
That would be awesome. Like
911
a built-in multi-station relay.
Wait, 911R?
Yeah. Combine the 940A with the 911D.
940 or 911 relay.
Yeah.
Okay. See, what I could do,
or 911R because pirates are matey.
What I've half been tempted to do is I've half been tempted to go and make dimensional sketches of everything on the 911D, combine it with the 911, right? So like make a dimensional sketch of the entire front panel of the 911, and then sketch the entirety of the 911D, overlay that, and then submit it to a place to make them. So get the entire case remade. And what I'd add is, since I've got a 930A on the way, I can just pull out the radio cards of that one, so I can shove them into my 911D Plus. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So shove that into the 911D Plus, and then I could also, since I've got ROM reads on the 911, copy over the firmware so I can originate off of it, and then with the extra space that would be left over in the 911D Plus, I can slap a Raspberry Pi for CAP support.
Yeah, I was gonna say just like Monitor 6, just throw a software NDEC in there.
Well, here's the thing. I could if I do that, I know how to get. So most TFTs only have 4 monitors, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 and 6 are disabled. I know how to add 5 and 6 back on there. They have lists of components, and you just have to find all those components and throw them back on the board, and you get monitors 5 and 6. So what I'm half tempted to do is, if I were to get one of these boards, like I can go and get dimensional sketches of that radio monitor board, and then submit it off to a place to manufacture it. It wouldn't be cheap, but I could. If I do that, then I could get
cost of our projects.
I could get one of these boards back with monitors 5 and 6, but what I'd do is since the 911D doesn't even have ports on the back for that, I would get the back panel remade, but I'd still block off 5 and 6. You know why?
Because then you can internalize the radio.
5 and 6 would be internal monitors. Actually, okay, I don't know what I'd do with monitor 5 or monitor 6, but 5 could be an internal radio monitor. You know what I could do with monitor 6?
Raspberry Pi.
Well, here, what I could do is with the Raspberry Pi, I can have 2 channels, left and right. So I can have like the left channel be CAP monitoring and the right channel be a stream monitor.
That's fair.
That'd be cool, because then I wouldn't have to hook it up to a computer for a radio stream. It could just all be an internal.
That's fair.
So, y'all want to talk about tsunamis?
Let's
The
talk
tsunami
about
of knowledge about TFT that we just threw on our listeners.
let's talk
yeah.
about how fucked
Let's talk about
Seattle is.
real tsunamis.
Yeah.
All right. So, nobody's looked this up, so time to explain myself. The Washington State Department of Natural Resources recently released the results of a simulation that they've done. The simulation shows the impact of a 7.5 magnitude earthquake on the Seattle fault line. For those of you who aren't familiar, I live near something called the Pacific Rim. And the Pacific Rim, basically, all along the Pacific Ocean is just a bunch of flat. Yeah.
It's the
Fault
Ring of
lines.
Fire.
It's basically, the Ring of Fire.
Going to the ring of fire.
So, for those of you, if you know, you know. That's besides the point, though. Up here in Washington, we have decent earthquakes / tsunami preparedness. Like, for example, we have AHAB, which is a large network of about 120 to 130 modulator sirens all across the coast. I live near 2 of them. They're designed for quick response for tsunamis. However, judging by the simulation, if the simulation is to be believed, that might not even be enough. If a 7.5 magnitude earthquake on the Seattle fault line were to occur, there's a potential tsunami waves up as high as 42 feet can hit downtown Seattle and up to the I-5 corridor, which is a couple miles in 3 minutes or less.
Yeah. Would it be reaching that corridor within a few minutes, or is that
inundation and strong currents could continue for more than 3 hours after the initial earthquake?
So that entire area would be more or less fucked for 3 hours.
Essentially, yes.
And you mentioned before the call that it was because parts of Seattle are actually below sea level, right?
Correct. Actually, the Seattle Boardwalk and Pike's Place, they are at or below sea level. I believe the maximum below sea level that we've seen is negative 12 feet.
Yeah. But still, 12 feet doesn't seem like a lot, but when you think about
it is
a
bunch.
Well, yeah, especially if you look at like someone like me that lives, I could actually get you an exact number, but it's thousands of feet up. To me, that just doesn't sound like a lot. But for that area, see, I'm at elevation 3,205 feet. But so, of course, 12 feet doesn't sound like a lot, but that's detrimental to that area.
But it's not just the Seattle area, too. The Seattle fault line is not necessarily on the Ring of Fire, but it is in the middle of the Puget Sound. If it were to hit there, it would go in all directions. It would also go westward towards the Olympics. Bremerton would get hit. Everett would get hit. It would cripple a lot of shit. Seattle area would be underwater, military bases, the airport. Because you got to remember, Bremerton is a naval shipyard.
Mm-hmm.
They primarily work on aircraft carriers and battleships.
Yep.
They would be out of business, essentially. The Everett Naval Base that I live nearby, which is the most strategic base in the West Coast because of its proximity to Japan and North Korea.
Yep.
That would get fucked.
Yeah, and you got to think about the infrastructure and economy over there. Like Boeing, a major manufacturer in aircraft, would be underwater.
I mean, yeah, Boeing has other places, but this is where they primarily produce the 747, the 78, and
isn't that where they produce
7X.
a good chunk of their current fleet?
Yep, and down in Renton, they produce 737s. Renton would get hit too. It would be a while before it hits, but because they're more inland, but eventually they would get hit.
But good thing Boeing moved their headquarters to a different state.
That's not the reason why.
No, I know it's not the reason why. More satirical than anything.
Yeah, well, yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about our tsunami preparedness stuff. So some of y'all who live in within a certain regions of the United States may be familiar with the Great Shakeout.
Yep, I do that up here.
Happens in October. It's earthquake preparedness, but in Washington, it's a little bit different. It's not just earthquake preparedness; it's tsunami preparedness as well, because tsunamis can follow earthquakes, especially if they're out in the ocean. So, Washington State has the all hazards alert system, or all hazards alert. Yeah, it's
or
AHAB.
end up. People are racing out there, huh?
Yeah, apparently.
The All Hazards Alert System, also known as NWR.
Yeah. No.
Don is chugging that water.
I tried to hit my mic, but I failed miserably.
Well, I would hope not, because you were unmuted.
Yeah, I'm aware.
It's the All Hazard Alert Broadcast Siren, or the AHAB system, or AHABs, if you want to be specific.
Rehab?
Yeah.
It's operated by the Washington State Department of Emergency Management. It's activated by multiple sources. It can be it can be activated by the local EMA over radio. It can be activated over satellite by the Washington State Emergency Operations Center.
Yeah.
But if there is a tsunami warning, you will hear that shit anywhere, because it is an entire fleet of modulators.
Modulators, my favorite.
And keep in mind, these modulators have 7 modules.
Yeah.
So,
do they happen to do the
and they have
siren?
the low vis blue light. What's up?
Do they happen to do the broken Chicago tornado siren sound?
It's not broken.
I know, that's the point.
Which one was that one again?
Alt whale.
Alt whale.
No, it's just standard whale.
I love alt whale.
Boy, 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 blah, blah, blah.
Basically all of our minds right now, because it is now in Montana. It is currently 11:32, so that's basically all of our minds right now.
My guy in Michigan, it's currently 1:32.
It is 10:32 Bungie Standard Time.
Bungie Standard Time.
Yeah. Whenever, because for context to anybody who's just tuning in, I work for Bungie Game Studios. The Halo Bungie. I work in their IT department. Whenever we do tickets and we have to schedule meetings during times, we literally say Bungie Standard Time, because people aren't all on Pacific Time, because we're transitioning to a hybrid work environment.
Mm-hmm.
Is the server? Oh, I'm just running a really bad ping. For reference, we're all playing Minecraft while we're doing this podcast.
Except Cam.
Cam's a party pooper.
Except for me, because my Minecraft client doesn't like the mods for some reason. And I'm also on a Mac, so
it's because Cam's a fucking pleb.
It's probably
trying to run Minecraft with only 8 gigs of system RAM.
8 gigs of system RAM and Intel Iris graphics.
Oh, Iris graphics doesn't matter. It's the fact that you're running with 8 gigs of RAM, my dude.
That's fair.
Dude, I play Minecraft on my work computer all the time, and that has Iris Xe graphics. But at least that thing has 16 gigs of RAM.
But anyways, back on topic. So,
but yeah. So in the event of a tsunami, if you know anybody in the Seattle area, and you hear about a tsunami, sorry to say, but they don't call you. I would probably file a missing persons report.
They're
Not even that.
probably dead.
Do you think there's any way that Seattle in that area could even change things around to improve, I guess, the survivability of something
not
like that?
Not with the way that everything's built. Like, hell, Seattle's already built on top of an underground city.
That's
Like, seriously. I don't know if you guys knew this, but because about 50 years ago, not 50. Yeah, no, not even 50 years ago. Like more like 100 years ago, when they pretty much rebuilt Seattle. They built everything on top of the city. Like, all of those buildings and stuff like that, they exist just underground. Look up the Seattle underground city if you guys wanted to look this shit up.
Yeah.
Hey, Gabe, I know where the
Yes.
frat house is going to be.
Seattle underground.
The ERN frat house.
If you
For
want
reference-
to,
Just look up the Seattle underground. It's pretty eerie shit.
For reference, the ERN frat house is not necessarily a joke.
Oh no, it's not.
It'll happen eventually.
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 Come on, we're all people that buy Index.
Eventually.
We're people that buy Index for fun. We gotta make money somehow to be able to afford that.
Well, here's
Well,
the thing.
Gabe and
I make enough.
Well, yeah,
Anna
yeah.
and I, we make enough.
Yeah.
And if you work and Cam, if you work for Sinclair, we have a Sinclair station up here in Washington.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
So you can.
Oh yeah. So
You can
I guess
see if you
I guess I
transfer.
could give some reference on that, but so I did leave Scripps and KRTV because I moved to Missoula for college, of course. So now I'm employed by KECI NBC Montana, a Sinclair station. So yeah, I'll be working there now.
and also to add on to the list of people that can work in the Seattle area, if I continue on my current trajectory, which is working at the NWS Seattle,
NWS Seattle is really nice.
yeah,
Like, I don't know if you've seen any images of the WRH, because NWS Seattle is based out of the Western Regional headquarters of the Seattle of the NWS, or actually NOAA.
yeah,
It's NOAA's Western Regional headquarters. If you
Yeah.
look on the NWS Seattle's YouTube channel, you can find videos of their office.
oh
They
yeah,
have the best view.
their office
Yeah,
is amazing.
and with especially speaking of NWS, so this is off topic.
Oh,
What?
Car crash.
Excuse
No, that was a
me.
firework with sparkles on the end. But
It
So-
sounds like a car crash.
this is the most fun freaking ERN broadcast.
Broadcast.
I don't know did you guys hear the dog yelping in the back?
I did, yeah. Oh, how do we get back on track now?
Were
I
we
guess I
ever
could.
on track?
That's fair. So
What's
I
a
don't
track? Never heard of it.
So I start working for Sinclair on the 25th of July. And between now and then, I actually was going to get in contact with NWS Missoula and see if I could get a tour over there.
Nice.
Because so I've been around the building before because it's right next to Missoula International Airport. There's another one, but so NWS Missoula is down by the airport, but the actual radar is north of Missoula.
Yes.
I'm assuming probably because we're in the middle of a mountain valley, and if you're on top of a mountain, you get better radar coverage. So
Oh, easily. Well, no, that doesn't always work that way because then you can't get the lower elevations where civilization is.
well, I mean, to be fair though, it's pretty marginal in terms
Yeah,
of difference of height.
But still,
I live next to a mountain. I live on University of Montana. So
This
if
is
you want
why-
to go in Microsoft Flight Simulator or something and go fly next to University of Montana, you'll see what I'm talking about.
you know,
But
this is why making or forecasting severe weather in mountainous areas sucks.
oh,
because
speaking
radar
of
coverage is garbage.
mountainous Montana, right? So severe weather has been absolutely banging Montana the past few days. Today's the
haven't you
9th.
had storms the past week?
Yeah, this is probably
Hey, Gabe.
it's-
Sorry, continue.
Oh, it's okay. So for those who haven't been following it, this is probably day 4 or 5 with a slight risk at least in Montana. And yesterday, actually, a lightning struck Glasgow, Montana NWS's radar, and they are completely offline. And at the time of recording, they're under enhanced risk. So they're not able to use radar at all for an enhanced risk day. Which I don't know if I feel like that, not very great. Like they've had kind of like cries for help about, hey, storm spotters, we really need you tonight and stuff like that, which like Anna was saying in a previous episode, NWS's eyes on the ground. So
Yeah,
which is funny because even though their radar is 100% down, it's unusable. But funnily enough, if you go look at the products that they issue, they still say radar indicated for the source.
Yeah.
Well, what else do they put?
Weather spotters,
Public
weather spotters, emergency management,
law enforcement.
Yeah, law enforcement reported.
Mesonet.
Your mom reported.
I mean, it could be your mom reported. Oh, honey, look at this tornado on our front lawn. I'm going to send this to the National Weather Service Facebook page.
I'm going to send it to my local news station instead of NWS.
Yeah, I don't understand why people do that. Like, they don't... You won't get recognized on the NWS on whether or not...
Well, to be fair, so I'm still close to the people at work at KRTV, and that because of the whole Glasgow thing, they're actually having to relay reports for the public because they'll just send them straight to the station.
Who does that? Oh, well, people do it, but why would you do it?
Apparently, people in Montana do it because we're detached from a normal world.
Because they're stupid.
I'm not disagreeing.
Watch, I'm gonna get a bunch of flack for that in the email.
Oh, probably.
For saying that people in Montana.
Yeah, I was born in Montana, always lived in Montana. I can diss on Montanans.
Why is Montana even a state? There's nothing there. Why did
we do?
That's Kansas.
That's Kansas. Well, to be fair though, we're probably the strongest state based on nuclear power.
Okay, that is fair. That is fair.
Literally, I looked it up at one point, and if Montana,
because you have nothing else to put there.
I looked it up, but literally, if Montana seceded from the United States, we'd be our own global superpower because we hold a good chunk of the United States nuke force. Like literally, Great Falls.
If the entire West Coast seceded from the Union financially, it would probably overtake the U.S.
Yeah, no, seriously. But then, so you guys, anyone listening to this can look it up. You can look up Malmstrom Air Force Base, like the missile wings. You can see the location of nukes, and there are a ton around Great Falls. Like my wife's parents' house in Great Falls, like literally like 2 miles from their house is a missile silo. It is just so weird to think about that being there. But hey, what can you say? But I don't know if we have anything else to get back on track with. But Gabe, was there anything else you wanted to talk about with the whole Seattle tsunami preparedness?
Not necessarily the tsunamis, but the fact that they're still lighting motherfucking fireworks outside. Right outside my house, too, by the way. They got louder. I actually muted. But yeah, no, it got louder.
But yeah, so let's go back to TFT stuff. So was it the TFT founder?
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't the founder. It was a key employee that was running their support lines.
Was it? Yeah. It was basically the face of TFT.
So not many people knew. Yeah, not many people knew this, but TFT, for the longest time, even after they went out of business, they still provided support to anybody who had their products. That's why for the longest time, you could still call TFT support line and get somebody saying, hey, this is TFT support line. How can we help you? Basically, with... there was one guy who primarily did that, and I think Gabe, you said it was Daryl Parker, I think, right?
Yeah. So
Um,
the individual's name is Daryl Parker.
but it turns out that was it last year, I think.
Yep, in 2021, actually, I believe it was the day of the last national test.
Yeah.
He unfortunately passed away.
And I didn't actually learn about this until not a long time ago, just a couple days ago. And what, like, that's like, it sucks to say this, but it's like he was one of the last things keeping TFT up.
Yeah,
Because
for real.
keeping TFT around. So because of that, we can officially say that TFT is basically gone at this point,
Mhm.
other than their unit still being around.
Yeah.
And that makes me sad.
Because
Yeah.
now also, any possible source of information about the likely, well, no, not likely, definitely unreleased 911 Plus has just been lost to the one person that probably would have known at least something about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are still ex-TFT employees around.
Yeah,
that
like I'm
give
sure if we found like a
help.
dev or something, they would probably help us out. It's like, it's not going to violate an NDA. What NDA?
Well, even if there was an NDA,
It's long
it
since
isn't legally
expired.
binding because the company's gone.
Yeah, that too. It'd just be a matter of
So
do they want to or not.
if you are an ex-TFT employee and happen to be listening to the ERN podcast, we would also love to hear from you.
Very much so. But I highly doubt we're going to have any of those.
We would also give you praise just for being an ex-TFT employee.
Yeah,
Especially if you stuck around to the end.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And if you want to talk about, and if you want to hop on the podcast and talk about any of the projects that you worked on while at DFT, please do let us know.
Yeah, if there's any EAS equipment manufacturer employees or ex-employees, we honestly would love to have you on the podcast.
Yeah. And I know you, Monroe Electronics, I know you know about us.
Yep.
Just call.
I'm still in contact with them. I haven't talked to them recently because, nothing to talk about. We're still waiting on DAS 3 to become publicly available.
It is on their site though. That's
Oh,
fine.
it is?
It is. They did update their website.
It's been on there for a hot second.
For about a week.
They redesigned their
For about
website.
Nope. No, they didn't. Here, watch. Go and click on anything else.
Hey.
Yeah.
The OneNet SE page, that's not what a OneNet SE looks like.
Yeah, it's been like that for the longest time.
I'm seeing this image for the first time.
If you want to see what a real one at SE looks like, you can get in contact with us. I'll show you mine.
Or Gabe can
I'll
just...
show you mine too, because I have one.
Isn't it under your bed?
Isn't yours dead, though?
No. Well, debatable.
Even if it is dead, it is what a OneNet SE looks like.
That is
Correct.
fair.
Because I need to get a replacement motherboard for it. But yeah, besides that,
Which is actually pretty cheap, surprisingly.
Yeah. Are you sure it's not
cheap?
Are you sure it's not the power supply?
Huh?
No, it's not the power supply.
No, because I tried a different power supply.
Oh.
Do you want to talk about your?
Yeah, sure.
You could talk about your adventures with your OneNet.
Yeah, this was like a while ago.
Like January.
Actually, no, it was March.
Same thing.
It was about the same time I joined ERN.
Yeah.
You reappeared.
Yeah. So, anyways, the my adventures with my OneNet were an interesting one. So we found a really good deal on a OneNet SE, coming out of a site that was being demolished. Bought it for parts. Bought it knowing that there's a good potential that it wasn't going to work. Comes in, powers on perfectly fine. It's just that it powers on perfectly fine. It's just that it's not posting.
Which is common for older systems in general.
Correct. So tried a different stick of RAM, didn't work. Tried resetting the CMOS, didn't work. Tried using a different power supply because it was using an ATX 350 watt power supply, and I had something that had a little bit more beef to it that I could throw at it just to see if it worked. Nope. That unfortunately did not work.
Just throw like 128 gigs into your OneNet. Pimp my OneNet.
It only has one RAM slot. It only has one slot.
I bet it
They
matches.
do. They make
also
128
DDR2.
stick.
It's DDR2.
That's fair.
Because I have one of the VIA units. Oh yeah, for those of you who don't know, for those of you who don't know, on the back end, like internally, the DAS decks will come in one of two varieties. One of them will come with a VIA CPU, CPU by a company of VIA, not of VIA, but just VIA. They make low cost embedded CPUs, and then there's a couple of DAS decks that you'll find with Intel Atoms.
Yep, and that's what I have.
And yeah, so
and mine for an Atom processor, that thing hauls ass in processing power. Like I've never seen an Atom do as much as my OneNet does.
Yeah, it's because it's optimized for it.
Oh yeah,
but yeah. Besides all of that, so I just shelved it, made a backup of its hard drive, and left it be for a little while, and I haven't touched it really because I want to get the physical unit working again. It's not my number one thing on my to-do list.
You should send me your MPEG card.
Oh yeah, mine has like the MPEG card and the sound card and the radio expansion stuff.
If you send me the MPEG card, I will have the most beefed out OneNet there can possibly be.
I have the card. I have the card, right? I don't have the cables that go in the back that do the pass-through coding.
Yeah.
But at that point, you might as well just use them.
How much did you buy your OneNet for?
300.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it was 300. It was 300 for a beefed out OneNet, but just didn't work. I'm not sad or anything like that.
You have your Sage.
I got my digital, and nowadays we have the Easy Cap.
Oh yeah, the
Easy Cap's around, my Easy Plus around. I literally have every digital encoder
except for the 911 Plus, but I don't know if you can count that one.
I wouldn't even count that because it wasn't publicly available.
Now, what about the Sage 4644?
That's Canadian, my dude.
I mean, it's still technically a cap deck.
It's a cap deck, but it's not a digital.
Not an EAS encoder. It's an AEA encoder, but not EAS encoder.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah.
AEA, for those of you who are curious, I'm referring to Alberta Emergency Alert, but it can also be like Alert Ready, because Alert Ready is technically AEA as well.
Well, Alert Ready is also Canada-wide, right?
Alert Ready is Canada-wide. AEA, or Alberta Emergency Alert, is what Alert Ready is based off of.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, in Alberta, it's still referred to as Alberta Emergency Alert.
Which would make sense.
Man, Alberta did something good for once.
Yeah, Alberta actually kind of led the charge for public emergency alerting in Canada. That might be something I'll have to touch on in like EAS history, like the international version. Because like I could cover like J Alert, SASMAX.
Oh, not J Alert.
Well, are you telling me you don't like the?
I hate J Alert.
You don't like the RTTY?
No, I really only care for things that use same. But
I can't say I have the same point of view on that one.
Yeah, it's just
Ha 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 ha.
Wait, let me get the
See
drum
what you
sound
did
effect
there.
here.
Hey, you better have that on standby for literally everything I say. I guess
Probably.
you can. I guess you can say the same point, the same perspective. It doesn't apply to everybody. There you go. You gotta be better on the timing, my dude. You gotta be better on the time. It's almost as if the purge time is a little too high.
Yeah. Well, it's decent for network.
You didn't get
I
that
think
podcast
that
one,
creation.
flew
Cam.
right over your head.
It did.
Yeah, it did.
Purge time.
That flew so high. That flew so high over your head. I had to get clearance from air traffic control from you even deploying it.
But yeah, so I don't know if there's anything
On
else you guys
today's
want to talk.
episode of the Joke Cast,
Yeah.
anyways, I think that does it for this week. Tune in next week where
We might have
Yeah,
an
I think we should
the
also
encoder-
mention what happened with last week. So, of course, last week we did not release an episode. That was due to some scheduling conflicts and especially due to the 4th being around.
I wasn't
I wasn't available.
I was in
Yeah,
Arkansas.
like a lot of people
I was
were.
in Kansas.
Yeah, a lot of people were out, and a lot of people who didn't say where they were just didn't respond. Like what
Yeah.
Marley's done for the last 8 podcasts.
Which is why Status Quo has been canceled.
Yep. Friendly reminder that Status Quo has been canceled until further notice, until Marley can get her head out of their ass and actually show up for an episode.
Yeah.
Or even respond as to why they're not even responding to us asking if they're going to show up.
Okay, to be fair,
At this point, I think we've demoted Marley from the producer position.
no.
I'm the producer.
To be fair,
The
Marley's
co-producer.
laptop did take a dump.
That is true.
And, yeah.
But Riverside's also on iPhone, and that does not explain everything before then.
Yeah, anyway, so thanks guys for listening to the ERN podcast. If you like what you're hearing, you can listen to our other episodes. I like to think that they're all, we talk a lot.
We
Oh
do.
yeah, and this episode is sponsored by WACN Technologies.
This
Again.
episode is sponsored by Weatherstream.
It always is.
The easiest
This
way
episode
to
is sponsored?
stream- Yeah. I paid for this sponsor spot. I paid $10 for an NWS cap license. Rip off, by the way.
But yeah, so if
You
if
can
you like
still
what you're
use
hearing-
NWS Cap.
Yeah, I know, but no one likes it, and I'm told not to use it, so I don't use it.
Like, I didn't say
no
you
one,
could-
no one
I
likes
didn't-
NWS Cap.
Whenever I use NWS cap, Anna yells at
On
me.
that note, see ya.
But yeah, no. So I'll give a proper outro here. So if you like what you're hearing, you can hit that subscribe button, get notified of any of our future episodes, and yeah. So we'll see you guys next week.
Hooray.
Yay.